Welcome to the LPTV Broadcasters Association podcast. LPTVBA is a nonprofit organization that champions the growth, innovation, and protection of LPTV, or as we prefer to call it, Local Power TV. Our board is made up of industry leaders who collaborate with technology innovators and policymakers to advance next-generation technologies, advocate for smart regulatory policies, and create new opportunities that deliver hyper-local impact. Through this podcast, we bring together industry professionals to discuss FCC developments, legislative and regulatory issues, emerging technologies, ATSC 1.0, ATSC 3.0, and 5G broadcast advancements, groundbreaking experiments, shaping the future of broadcasting and the opportunities ahead for our industry. Thanks for listening and welcome to the conversation.
Hello. I am SuperFrank Copsidas, the founder and chairman of the LPTV Broadcasters Association. What do we call LPTV, Local Power TV? It's underrated, underestimated, and we're unstoppable. And this week we have some of the most exciting news of the past decade. Yes, this isn't just a financial flip. It's pairing the biggest LPTV owner, licensee, who could that be? HC2 with Spectrum and 5G broadcast vision, along with the telecom-focused investor who has deep experience in disruptive wireless tech. And who could that be? It's Charlie Ergen from Connex. Yes, Connex agreed to buy 75% of HC2, subject to the FCC regulations of transfer of ownership. But who is Charlie Ergen? Dish TV, HughesNet. Just keep going and you'll find Charlie's name there. He's a disruptor. How did he start? He started as a pro poker player, and he continues to this day just playing poker with Spectrum. Yes, everybody keeps saying, Charlie's done this time. He's not going to do it. But guess what? Every time he lands up doing it. And this time it's all about LPTV and 5G broadcast. So it's good to have Charlie on board, and also the people over at HC2, Les Levy, the president, and Paul Voigt, who is the CEO of Innovate, the parent company of HC2. Together, they put their heads together and came up with the perfect solution for 5G broadcast, and that is to bring Charlie Ergen to the table. So we're really excited because this is really the first broadcast investment of substantial size coming to the table. And now that that momentum is underway, maybe we'll see others come in and start to invest in LPTV. Plus, when you look at Charlie, what does he bring to the table besides money? He brings the White House, the FCC. He's used to all those areas to get regulators to understand what he's trying to do. And God knows we've been trying to get regulators to understand 5G broadcast. Actually, in not too distant future, we'll be meeting with the Media Bureau to discuss the future of 5G broadcast. And we'll be back in just a moment. Who better to speak to than my friend Bill Christian? We'll be right back.
I'm Shana Farr, Director of Membership for LPTVBA. If you believe in the future of low-power television, we invite you to join the LPTV Broadcasters Association. Your membership helps us advocate on your behalf in Washington, provide critical industry education, advance new technologies, and create opportunities that strengthen and grow our industry. To learn more and to join today, visit lptvba.org.
Let's go back to what you said in the beginning about this major deal with HC2 and Charlie Ergen. Let's talk about the scope of that, first of all. When's the last time this kind of investor came into this space?
I would say it's been well over a decade. You probably know better than I do. But Phil
Or maybe
Falcone,
never.
when he started HC2, got money, Wall Street money. But I don't know anybody else who has.
I get the feeling that Charlie Ergen isn't all that excited about running 15 diginets on 260 stations or more.
I
Um,
don't think so.
so I think he's going to bring a whole different perspective, would you say, to the industry?
I do, and I've had the privilege and pleasure of meeting Charlie, and he is a very smart man. He has vision, and he knows where he wants to go.
I'm going to switch over to technology for a minute here. There's a lot of different information I'm seeing and hearing regarding technology, and particularly as it evolves around ATSC 3.0 or 5G broadcasting. And I want to start by saying a lot of people know that you're gung ho on the 5G broadcasting. That doesn't necessarily mean that you're anti ATSC 3.0, right?
Not at all. First of all, LPTVBA as an organization supports any format, ATSC 10, 30, and 5G broadcast, and anything else that might come up. So that's number one. It's giving those options to our members to decide what is right for their community and a business plan where they can survive. So when it comes to the three, it's interesting. Nobody's talking about ATSC 10 except a sunset. I love the idea of a sunset for 10 when it comes to full power stations. Because if we see all the full powers leave for 3.0, that leaves all the 1.0 for a low power TV. And that leaves that 83% of TVs that don't have ATSC 3.0 to receive only low power TV. We were just handed the gift. It's Christmas if that happened. So, yes, big supporter of 1.0. When it comes to 3.0, when it first started rolling out for LPTV, and that at this point was probably 5, 6 years ago, and we just started this organization, and I was a big ATSC 3.0 fan in the beginning. And I thought, if I'm going to move this forward, I've got to try it on one of my stations. And for 17 months, we tried to get it working on WCRN in Boston. We tried 2 different vendors' equipment. I spent $60,000 of my own money getting people in, just labor, to get it working the way it should work. And it just never did. And by that, what does that mean? Work as it should. So data and video together, we could get one or the other. We couldn't get the video always looking the way it should. Anytime we changed the MER numbers, the same thing was coming out. So there were a lot of things that just didn't make sense. After 17 months, I gave up on it, and 5G broadcasting was coming out. And that's when I said, here's another option. One of the big things that I see in 5G broadcast versus ATSC 3.0, there are a couple. One is cost. The cost to do 3.0 is astronomical for LPTV operators. It's very, very expensive. Not only the initial cost, but there are annual fees involved too, because ATSC 3.0 is basically a privately owned standard, and you have to license it. 3GPP, there are no licenses. You just go on the air with it. So we just put on a station in Boston, WCRN, just went back to 5G broadcast. And one of the things we worked on, it has an any-wave transmitter, and we wanted to use the XGN exciter with that. And it's the first time that we were able to pair not the same exciter and transmitter manufacturer. So they worked, it took us literally 3 hours to get it working correctly. And it's now been running about 6 weeks, just solid as a rock. So that was one of the first things we wanted to find out. How much did that cost? At this point, it cost us $15,000. that price will come down.
Every TV that's out there in America can pick up ATSC 1.0. Operators are used to working with it. It's compatible with anything old. There's a lot that it has going for it as far as just operating today until whenever you feel like taking a jump into the next technology. But I've been hearing about ATSC 3.0, I think since 2007 or 8 was the first time that I saw a demo by Mark Aitken. And I think there's so much great that was involved in the development of that format. And it's important to not put that down because for the first time, it was taking television out of its proprietary realm and into the world of IP where the whole world is. That's a huge development. The technology was able to penetrate buildings more with signal. It was good for that. The ability to crunch more into a smaller space, which allowed for either, better quality pictures, way better audio, the ability to do data or more. There's so many good things about it. And yet, depending which article you read day by day, ATSC 3.0 is either the greatest thing ever to happen to the broadcasting industry or a total unmitigated failure that's going nowhere whatsoever. And I think this is probably where you kind of separate the full power people from the low power, because if I'm a full power broadcaster and I have a big four network and I've got sports and I'm getting big retransmission consent from Comcast because I've got the Super Bowl, I really have no choice but to find a way to get better resolution, because right now HD TV, the best that is 1K. The whole world is gravitating to 4K and beyond. And if you can't find a way to put those better pictures on, your whole business could crumble like a house of cards. So I understand why the full powers not only have started down that path, but really need to remain committed to that path, at least for the big fours, in my opinion.
But then I'm going to interrupt you there because you and I sat on that committee, the
Yes.
Future of TV, which was the ATSC 3.0 committee that the NAB and the FCC put together. And at the very, very first meeting, one of the big retailers on the board said, when can we expect 4K? And one of the biggest broadcasters said, never.
Right. And a lot of that had to do with channel sharing, that they
Right.
had to crunch so many stations onto one thing. They kind of had these agreements that nobody could have better resolution than anybody else. So that's one of the things that has made this such a frustrating transition to ATSC 3.0. And I think, to me, the biggest problem is, from the TV receiver side, I think that the ATSC meeting is this week in Washington, D.C. And I read a quote this morning from Madeline, who runs that group, and she's excellent. And she was bragging that there are now 18 million receivers out there that can get it. But then I'm doing the math in my head. I'm saying, I think there's something like 300 million receivers, TV sets out there. So even if I say, okay, it is 18 million, and I don't believe that, because that's saying every single ATSC next gen TV that was sold is hooked up to an antenna on the roof, and not just I bought it because it was on sale at the corner aisle at Best Buy and I just plugged it into my internet. But assuming they're all there, that's still 6% of the country, which if you flip it around, there's 94% of the country that do not get ATSC 3.0, and it's not backwards compatible. So this is where the dilemma, I think, for your group, the low power TV people, come in. If you're a big four full power station and you're simulcasting and you have direct feeds to cable, you can kind of run your old business model, which you're making a lot of money on, while you're developing the new one. For LPTV that has zero cable carriage, zero simulcasting, you're basically saying, I'm going to take my present audience and I'm going to shut down 96% of that and hope that people come and eventually buy dongles or set-top boxes to do it. And then you have LG, that was the first TV manufacturer to say, I want to do this, who pulled back 2 or 3 years ago now. And it just seems like that the receiver is really a big problem. And that's before you talk about smartphones and mobile phones.
And also CTA, who doesn't say things over and over and over. They tend to say things once and you listen. And There's a strong possibility the tuners could come out of the TVs. They are not for a mandated tuner, ATSC 30 tuner in televisions. So they just take it out and sell monitors and say, if you whatever you want, get an external box. There is movement right now for 5G chips to go into TVs.
And maybe more importantly is the phone. At the end of the day, everybody now is getting most, I think 73% of their viewing is on a smartphone. And
Right.
the International Standards Committee, the 3GPP, was approached by ATSC 3.0 and said, will you put us on, make us part of the standard so you'll be in cell phones, smartphones? And the committee came back and said, no, you're a regional standard. You can't do it. So I think this is what kind of pushes a lot of people, particularly in the low power world, to say, let's explore this 5G broadcast. Because at the end of the day, we want to be where the eyeballs are. And right now, where the eyeballs are is on the phones. So what's going on with that whole thing in 5G broadcast with chips and regulation and where are we in the life cycle of 5G broadcast?
So I think one of the interesting things with 3GPP, people see it as a cell body, cell standards, but it actually isn't. Yes, it does cell standards, but yes, it also does broadcast standards. And yes, it also does satellite standards. So it is a standards organization that does various delivery points. However, and I keep talking about the word convergence. And as everything starts to converge more and more, we need those standards to work with each other between satellite and cell and 5G broadcast and side-link and everything else out there. There are so many things in the standards and how they work together. They only work together really if there's one standard. And you say, why is that? Why does your cell phone work anywhere in the world? There's one standard. So your TV or your smartphone, let's take emergency alerts right over 5G broadcast. You want to get those alerts wherever you are in the world. You don't want to just get them in the US or India, who uses the same frequencies. You want to get them in Europe or Africa or wherever you are. So it's important to have a standard.
And some of that testing showed that those emergency alerts, like on today's broadcasted TV, radio, those alerts, they take a long time. What's going on with 5G broadcast on that?
It's instantaneous, basically. Within a half a second, everybody in the coverage area gets the signal. The other thing, emergency alerts are very, very light amount of data, so they penetrate and they hit just about everybody in your coverage area. It's an effective tool to get out emergency alerts for sure. A lot of the rest of the world is working on this. They might be operate TV a little or broadcast differently than we do structurally, but at the end of the day, it all comes down to the same thing.
And there's a lot of talk rumbling about a broadcast positioning, television positioning system, a GPS alternative that I think alerts went off when I think Putin said, hey, I could shoot down a couple of your satellites and your whole country is shut down. I was like, whoa, we got to find a backup at least for this. And it sounds to me like if low power TV stations have 3 times as many stations as full powers, and if this new technology, whatever it is, can provide that could be a great service to the country, a value for low power TV operators, and keep things going. What's going on with that?
Absolutely. So ATSC 30 has a solution for it. It's a heavy solution. In other words, it's data heavy. And so that's one thing you don't want in transmissions or reception. In 5G broadcast, everything in 3GPP and in that standard tends to be very lightweight in data. So there are solutions. Actually, we'll be testing one later this summer where we send out a signal from the station and it actually can, using existing GPS technology on your smartphone, bring that accuracy to centimeters. So it's about 10 meters now, 30 feet accuracy.
Yeah.
And we're going to be able to bring it within feet.
So that's, if I'm on a golf course, that's helpful. But if I'm a robot making dinner and I need to put peanut butter on a piece of bread, that's
Not
real
quite
important.
there, not quite there, because it
Yeah.
still could be a couple feet
But
off.
there's a clear value to being able
Yeah.
to shrink that for sure. As far as 5G versus 3.0 versus 1.0, I guess the big questions are, where is it technology wise? Where is it regulatory? HC2 put a petition in a year ago or so, urging the FCC to go ahead and allow broadcasters to voluntarily do that. Is any movement on that, or what do you think's going on with legislation or regulation?
We're in an interesting world of convergence. So not only do you have the FCC, but you have Congress and you have other departments and agencies that are looking at how to use different solutions for their own needs. I really feel we're moving down the right lane. Certainly going back and having Charlie Ergen involved in this certainly helps. I'm optimistic. I'm putting my money where my mouth is, right? I guess that's the way you prove it.
And from a technology standpoint, you've got, the problem with ATSC 3.0 is receivers, getting the chips into receivers or phones. It seems to me like ATSC is about 10, 12 years ahead in terms of time of development of 5G broadcast. 5G broadcast is almost brand new. Where are the manufacturers, the Qualcomms and this cell phone chip manufacturers on that? I know that the great thing about the technology with a worldwide standard is you don't have to invent the worldwide standard, whereas the ATSC3 people had to create everything from scratch. So where are we in terms of getting actual chips in phones?
By the end of next year, we'll see commercial releases. So the chips that actually are able to do 5G broadcast in the right frequencies are basically just going in for final testing. They'll be out by the end of the year, those chips, basically for MWC, a Mobile World Congress in Barcelona in March. Those will all come out, and then they'll make it into phones within months after that. Now, the interesting part of those chips, release 19 of 3GPP has 5G broadcast in it. It also has FEMBMS. FEMBMS actually gives us 60 to 70% more throughput. So it's a much more robust standard that we'll come out with. We'll probably see some phones come out with EMBMS before that, but that'll be kind of the version 1 phones, and then version 2, the true commercial ones with R19 towards the end of next year.
Any final thoughts you want to say about, you said you're very optimistic about the future of low power TV. As an owner of some stations myself, that's encouraging to hear. Final thoughts?
Final thoughts is, yes, I am moving ahead. I believe in 5G broadcast. Personally, I do not believe in ATSC 3.0. Again, I put my money where my mouth is. I tried it and it didn't work for me. It might work for others. Definitely works for Frank and FM, right? For low power. So there are uses where it makes a lot of sense. ATSC 1.0, let it live forever. At the same time, there's the legislative part of give it to us as an option. We're not asking for a mandate like 3.0. We're asking for an option.
Well, thank you very much, and thank you for all that you do to support local TV nationwide.
Thank you for listening to the LPTV Broadcasters Association podcast. If you have any questions or comments about this conversation, please email podcast@lptvba.org. And to learn more about our organization and join today, visit lptvba.org.